comment section. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We are working for your rights.
WCPT replay.
You know, I hear a lot of people saying that they hate Illinois. They hate Cook County. You know, they literally, you can just see the passion and the anger when they talk about that. I can't wait to move away and move away. And everybody talks about getting out of the state, which, and I'll be honest with you, I love it here. But yet our house is still a seller's market. There's still more people that want to move in than are moving out. I mean, if so many people are leaving our state, then wouldn't the buyers have more power?
A lot of it has to do with how people identify. People's identity, the things they most cherish. And if you identify as someone who is conservative, you will look at some of the legislation that's been passed, pro-LGBTQ, pro-DEI, whatever other buzzwords that people on the right side of the political spectrum like to point at that are, to them, that are negative values that our government and the majority of our people find enough value in it to protect it, abortion rights, whatever it is.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
This is Ricky Rubio.
And I'm Holly Robinson Peete, actor and along with Ricky, ambassador for Delivering Jobs. We know that a job is empowering and instills confidence. Yet 81% of adults with developmental differences don't have a paid job, even though companies that employ people with differences report better morale and higher productivity.
There are 6.5 million people in the U.S. with an intellectual or developmental difference such as autism.
And now, thanks to Autism Speaks, Best Buddies, the Holly Rod Foundation, and Special Olympics, there has never been more opportunity to improve hiring practices and build a more inclusive workforce. Join me, Ricky Rubio, and these amazing organizations in supporting and creating pathways to 1 million employment and leadership opportunities for this talented community.
Visit deliveringjobs.org to learn more.
That's deliveringjobs.org.
Choose Views with Richard Chu.
And with us is our own state comptroller, Susanna Mendoza.
I went to this news event the other day, and I'm telling this story about how I used to love to play soccer, and it just came out. I'm like, I used to love kicking balls, and not much has changed these days, right? I'm still kicking balls. And anyway, I shouldn't have said it, but I just said it again. But it was super funny. But the point is, we're out there working hard, and doing what needs to be done, fighting a good fight.
Richard Chu, weekday mornings at 6 on WCPT 820.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see skies becoming mostly sunny here for today with a high into the lower 60s. West winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. For tonight, a slight chance for rain early, cloudy, a low near 42. By Saturday, a chance for some rain showers, cloudy skies, high 50 degrees. Then on Sunday, a slight chance for snow, cloudy, high around 36. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 48.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Friday morning, progressives. Chins up and shoulders back. Yes, welcome to the November 7th, 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, heartlandsignal.com, and YouTube. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com. Maddie B, I got to some of my emails. I was a little bit behind. I was a couple of days behind. I was able to get some of them followed up on yesterday. I still got some more, so I'm working on it, guys. But make sure that if you got something to say or something to send me, email me at richard@wcpt820.com. Shout out to my man, Maddie B, who's rolling with us this morning, keeping us on the rails. Follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Spoutable, Substack, and Threads. And you can catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, Driving It Home with Miss Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews. Make your way over to heartlandsignal.com because the good stuff is there. Wow. Let me do this first. Let me little house cleaning. In terms of how Heartland Signal, all I can tell you is you will have a field day over there today because of the posts from our great folks from our digital newsroom. So I'll just tell you, make your way over to heartlandsignal.com. There's a lot to catch up on if you haven't been paying attention. We've got a couple clips where we're going to bring you in the 6:30 hour from Pennsylvania Representative Dean. And you want to take some time and check it out. What a week! And going, in reverse order. Representative Robin Kelly, Congresswoman Robin Kelly, was with us. Senator Willie Preston, Francesca Hong, Lieutenant Governor Stratton, Sean Harris, of course, our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63, Amy McGrath, Melissa Bean, Joel Willett, and on today's show, we will have in studio with us our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics podcast, as well as Senator Robert Peters should be on the phone with us in the 7 o'clock hour. So we'll be talking with him, state senator. And it's Friday, first Friday of the month. So Mayor Brandon Johnson from Chicago will be with us. Got a couple of questions to go over with him. And so we're looking forward to our segment with Mayor Johnson this morning in the 7:30 hour. So there you go. Thanks to everybody that's been with us this week. It's been an honor to have interviewed some of the folks that are running for office in our, candidates week of interviews and segments. So thanks to all those folks that were on the show and those that helped in making sure that we had folks, had them on. But right now, check this out, progressives.
I don't want you to take this for granted that each and every one of us is in here today. And as I glance the room, about 10 people in the room. Only 10 people in the room have their rights guaranteed by the United States Constitution. Each and every one of us outside of that 10 are merely amendments to the Constitution. This is not something that we take lightly. When I look in the eyes of my 89-year-old grandmother who could not vote until she turned over the age of 30 because of regulation and restrictions in the Commonwealth of Virginia, I'm reminded that our ancestors put in blood, sweat, and tears for us to stand here today as elected officials to say we are fighting for you. That we stand here today with the ability to show up at the ballot box to make our voices heard. That our ancestors put in blood, sweat, and tears for some of us to say our vote doesn't matter. For some of us to say it doesn't really count. But if your vote didn't matter, and if your vote didn't count, why are they trying so hard to take it away from you in the first place?
That was Joshua Cole. Who is Joshua Cole? He is a Virginia state delegate. And you guys saw what went down in Virginia. Matty B was just saying to me how pleased he was with how the elections went from Mondami to the state elections and all the rest. But that was Joshua Cole, Virginia state delegate. And I'll send you guys the clip. It's a really moving clip for all the right reasons. Standing in the background, you can't see the audio, the video part of this. Standing in the background while Representative Cole is speaking here is none other than Maryland Mayor Wes Moore. And when you watch this clip, and I'll send it to anybody that wants it, it's very moving because you see the power of supporting each other, the power of being there for each other. And that, as much as what Delegate Cole had to say, as much as the power of what he had to say is palpable, it's also seeing Governor Wes Moore in jeans and a pullover, standing there supporting his boy. It doesn't get any much better than that. And that's what this week, I think, really represented for so many of us. And, the percentages, once again, the mainstream media and the idiots out there wanted to say that, black folks weren't going to show up. Well, that is nonsense, because if you look at the real data, the exit poll data, in all of the elections, black folks showed up. Even our Latino brothers and sisters who had swayed in the 2024 election kind of came back home in many ways. They showed up. And the import of what Joshua Cole is saying is, and I've said this a number of times, and we're going to say it again, that if the vote didn't matter, then why are they working so doggone hard to take it away? If showing up didn't matter, then why are they working so hard to pull people apart from one another? If showing up didn't matter, then why is this administration so dead set on taking away the tools that help support the citizens of this country? Showing up matters, y'all. It matters. It matters and we'll just use the last 90 to 120 days, roughly. Think about the protest going back to June. Okay? Think about the No Kings rally that happened a couple weeks ago. People showed up, and the numbers grew. So why would they be working so hard if it didn't matter? Why would they have, if independence in thinking and action, and independence and then coming together to work with others didn't matter, then why would they have ICE agents showing up in cities right now, namely Chicago? Our connection matters. It's the biggest scare to this regime. It's the biggest scare to mediocrity, is when people show up and support each other. It matters because it scares the hell out of those who were trying to push it back down. It's always mattered. Showing up and protesting has always mattered. And it matters more than ever right now. I know that the phrase, this is the most important election of our lifetime. The reason we keep saying that is because the stakes get higher each time. So don't get turned off, or don't let someone in your world get turned off when the words and the phrases, this is the most important election of our lifetime. That's true because the stakes keep getting higher. And if the stakes weren't getting higher, then you wouldn't have a Joshua Cole, a Virginia state delegate, having such an impassioned, empowered speech and powerful speech about why showing up matters, why the vote matters, but not only that, being there for the people that you care about matters. And I want to make sure that we take that seriously, that we show up. We know we're going to get tired. We know we're already tired of this craziness, this garbage, this chaos. But guys, this is what we have to do. We don't really, we have a choice, but that choice it's an option. How about that? We have an option, but that option is not one that there is very seasonal, favorable to me. So the choice is to show up. The choice is to be there. The choice is to make sure that we are ready, willing, and able to do what we have to do to protect this democracy, to protect our humanity, because they're trying to take that too. If humanity didn't matter, if that weren't important to them to see us, for us to see ourselves as ones filled with humanity, then they wouldn't be working so doggone hard to try to rip people apart, to pull families apart, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That means that they know that it's important. So it just moved me, and I wanted to play this clip for you guys yesterday, but we had a couple of technological glitches, but we got it in today. Showing up matters. And if you take anything into the weekend, and we come back from the break, we'll talk about some things to do in Chicago, but take that to the weekend, that showing up matters. And they wouldn't be working so doggone hard to take away these things if they didn't know that the underbelly is the support that we provide for one another. And we have to remain serious about that. And one last thing before we break, Maddie, is don't listen to the Republican talking points. Don't be repeating what they're saying about the victories that we had this week. Those are our victories. We get to own and love them and use that as the drumbeat that I talked about to continue to build that energy. Don't listen to those knuckleheads. They ain't got nothing to say. Nothing new, same old garbage. Don't listen to them. Let's take a break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT.
Check engine, ABS, or maintenance light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. The service is free and provides a report with solutions verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we could recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/Mike.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us this morning. I want to give a shout out to the folks that emailed me this past few days. Thank you so much for your not only kind words, but some things that I need to think about and maybe add to what we're doing and add to the conversation. That matters too. Those suggestions matter. And I get some really funny stuff, Matt, and there's some people that really are plugged in. So shout out to Jennifer, shout out to Cassandra, shout out to Julie, Robert, David. I mean, you guys are fantastic. There's so many people that send some great content and links and things. Hey, Richard, check this out. So I appreciate all of that. And so thank you again for those wonderful emails. Let's hit them with a couple of Choose Views news, Matt, on this November 7, 2025. Hiring is still low. New LinkedIn data shows hiring was down nearly 6% year over year in October, according to this new data. That signals a labor market that remains sluggish as government labor market indicators are delayed by the ongoing shutdown. Interesting timing that the numbers from the government are delayed. That tells you something. LinkedIn estimates payrolls rose by a modest 40,000 last month, in line with other sources, including payroll provider ADP. Flights to be cut at the busiest airports as of today, Friday, according to the FAA. The busiest airports in the United States will see flight reductions, reduced by 10% starting today because of the government shutdown, according to a list obtained by the AP news poll. The cuts at multiple facilities in cases such as New York, Houston, and Chicago have been ordered by the FAA amid staffing shortages. Air traffic controllers unpaid during the shutdown are increasingly calling out of work. Flight cuts are set for 40 cities in all. including Atlanta, Denver, Dallas, Orlando, Miami, and San Francisco. I don't want to talk conspiracy, but craziness. All four of those, all of those cities are blue cities. But I mean, I'm going to say this. If safety comes first, I know that it's going to be a crimp for folks during the holiday season. And Karen and I will probably talk a little bit about that when she's in. But safety first. I mean, I'm not an FAA expert. I just know that I don't want to see people in peril because we don't have enough folks staffed to get planes up in the air and back down safely. So let's hope we can get these knuckleheads on the right to do the right thing and get this government shutdown taken care of. All right, Eli Lilly's next gen obesity trial shows a 20% weight loss potential. They announced yesterday that they will start late-stage clinical trials on a promising new obesity treatment that could tighten the company's hold on the weight loss market. The experimental drug helped some weekly users drop 20% of their body weight over roughly a year. The injectable belongs to a next-generation class known as amylin analogs, which suppresses appetite by mimicking a pancreatic hormone, but with fewer potential side effects than the current blockbuster Eli Lilly's Zepbound. So we'll see where that goes. We'll keep you posted as we get more news and information. Fewer jobs for HB1 visa holders thanks to a new fee. Foreign graduates of U.S. colleges are finding a new rollback to employment, the $100,000 fee attached to their HB1 visas. Even heavyweights like Walmart have announced a pause on HB1 candidates, according to Bloomberg, leaving thousands of foreign students in limbo, especially in tech and finance. With the White House instituting stricter immigration policies, the share of jobs offering visa sponsorships has dropped from 10.9% in 2023 to 1.9% today. That's just, once again, Trump and his GOP. Last but not least, SCOTUS ruling could spark fresh economic uncertainty. The collective skepticism from the Supreme Court justices toward the administration's use of emergency powers to enact wide-ranging global tariffs may signal an imminent intervention, according to Bloomberg, though not necessarily a quick resolution. The case could push the administration to rely on other legal authorities to impose tariffs, creating additional uncertainty. The headaches for businesses and trading allies will be large. The trade policy unpredictability also risks unraveling recently negotiated trade deals while causing significant disruption in the stock market and national budget discussion. So there you go, guys. A couple of Choose Views news items on this November 7th, 2025. Yeah, they just don't know what the hell they're doing, Matt. They just don't. All right. Speaking of doing, we want to give you a few things to do and hang out if you're going to be in Chicago or if you're in Chicago this upcoming weekend. Here are a couple of upcoming events and some things that are already in motion and a few things that are just picking up this weekend. The Chicago Pizza Pass. That's something that started back in right before Labor Day, and it'll be happening through the end of the year. It's where you can check out different festivals, fairs, and events and get your Chicago Pizza Pass. The Yoko Ono Music of the Mind. What's that all about? I thought it was pretty cool. Music of the Mind presents one of the most comprehensive exhibitions to date of Yoko Ono, and that's taking place at the Museum of Contemporary Art. Dia de los Muertos Window Walk. Always got to get that right. Pilsen-based not-for-profit and the Pilsen Chamber of Commerce, in collaboration with the Benito Juarez Community Academy, will have their kickoff and continue on with their festival that's taking place, the Window Walk in Pilsen. That takes place in the Pilsen Corridor, West 18th and Damon Street in Chicago. The 312 Comedy Festival, which started earlier this week, is running through Sunday, citywide. Different venues that hold comedy, that are comedy clubs. You can check those out. The 312 Comedy Festival. You can Google that and get more data and information if you need a laugh this weekend. Twilight in Concert. Experience the legendary romantic saga with this epic film to concert event. Starting today at the Cadillac Theater, 151 West Randolph Street in Chicago. And let's see, one other great thing to check out is the Black Harvest Film Festival. And that's going to be, that starts today at the Gene Siskel Film Center here in Chicago. And if you're wanting to get out for some restaurant activity, make your way up to Andersonville to experience the flavors of Andersonville at the inaugural Autumn Restaurant Week. Make your way up there. Lots happening in Chicago this weekend. Get out and about. And one other thing I wanted just to remind you guys of. Last week we had on the show our my good friend Dana Goldberg, comedian and activist. And make your way over to Out 100 magazine to check out. She's nominated there for one of the top comedians and political voices in comedy. Make your way over to check out Out magazine, and you'll see where you can nominate the person that you like. She's also going to be in town next week on Friday at the Nuance Theater for 2 shows, one at 7 and one at 9. There are still tickets available for the 9 p.m. show. So if you're interested in having a little bit of belly fun and laughter, you might want to check out Dana's work on next Friday here in Chicago. So there you go, guys. Some things to do in and around the Chicagoland area. And of course, if you're not quite sure what to do, just hit me with an email and I'll send you a list of things to get out and about and do. So there you go. All right, folks, it is Friday, and that means a lot for so many people, but it's the weekend. So I hope everybody's got some things planned and happening to get out and about. This is an opportunity to connect with folks that maybe you haven't had a chance to connect with the past couple of days because everybody's been working. But make your way out and about. I'm always a big advocate of this, and it goes back to what I say about traveling. Get out of your normal routine. Get out of your normal, back and forth. Take a different route to work if you can, or take a different route to where you normally go, whether it's to work or to visit someone. But do it a little bit differently. Come home a little bit differently. Go through a different neighborhood. Get off the expressway and get on the local streets in your neighborhood if you commute that way. And if it's possible to take a different bus, if you take public transportation or train, then try that if it's possible without being late. But do something a little bit different. Maybe tomorrow, if you have a Saturday a walk that you take or a Sunday walk that you take, go a different route. If you have a favorite park that you walk through, find a different one and go through a different park tomorrow or Sunday. And I know it sounds kind of corny, and that's sometimes how I am, admittedly. But just, experience something a little bit different this weekend. And I'm a big advocate of that, particularly for those of us who are here in the upper Midwest, because weather's about to change. So we kind of nest and we kind of get comfortable with Matt's nodding his head like, yeah, that's right. But it's that time of year where when the weather changes and it gets colder, you kind of do your routine and you stick to it, sometimes for safety reasons, and I get that. But right now in this crazy time that we're in, I'm a big advocate, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, that you want to find some things to do a little bit differently. You want to approach life with a little bit of a different flair than you might normally, because I promise you what that does is a couple things, as I've said before. It just expands your mind. And that's so important right now, because so much of what's happening is about controlling what we're thinking, what we're saying, and how we're doing it. That's what this federal administration is really all about. They want to make sure that they can control the dialogue, not just politically, but socially, economically, and all the other ways. So we have to be the ones to be our own advocates to do some things a little bit differently, And for me, oftentimes it's just going a different direction so I can see my wonderful city in a slightly different way. And for you guys, it could be that, or it could be a variety of things, but I'm a big advocate of that. The other thing it does is it exposes you to somebody else or something else. I mean, if you go to a brand, one of the brand chained grocery stores, go to a different one and go to one of the different neighborhood. I don't want to list the names of the stores where, you shop, but go to the same store, but a different location. Even something like that, just to change up your rhythm a little bit is always good, I believe. It's always been good for me. So just want to share that with you as on the heels of talking about things to do in Chicago, things to do wherever you are in the country. Make it a little bit different today and this weekend. Let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. While Republicans and, more importantly, Speaker Mike Johnson would rather play games than do their job to keep the government open, 42 million Americans are in jeopardy of losing their SNAP benefits. Here are some companies that are willing to help out those in need. Instacart. Instacart is offering 50% off grocery orders to those who use their SNAP or EBT card. DoorDash. DoorDash is waiving delivery fees on SNAP orders. GoPuff. GoPuff is offering $50 in free groceries for those who have SNAP or EBT cards. And companies that are still willing to accept those SNAP or EBT cards despite the government shutdowns: Dollar General, Stop and Shop, Sprouts, and Winn-Dixie. So rather than telling people on food stamps they should just get a job, why don't you tell Mike Johnson he should do his job? This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see skies becoming mostly sunny here for today with a high into the lower 60s. West winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. For tonight, a slight chance for rain early, cloudy, a low near 42. By Saturday, a chance for some rain showers, cloudy skies, high 50 degrees. Then on Sunday, a slight chance for snow, cloudy, high around 36. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 50.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Of course, you can always catch my podcast. The Choose Views featured interviews and full episodes podcasts are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, and Amazon Music. Search for Choose Views. Visit our brand new podcast page at heartlandsignal.com/podcast. The latest editions of my featured interview podcasts are candidates for the U.S. Senate in Kentucky, Amy McGrath and Joel Willett, congressional candidates Melissa Bean and Sean Harris, Francesca Hong, also known as Franny, candidate for Wisconsin governor, Illinois lieutenant governor, and candidate for U.S. Senate Juliana Stratton, as well as Illinois congresswoman and candidate for U.S. Senate Robin Kelly. And Trump administration whistleblower Miles Taylor. That was a really good interview, very informative, with Represent.us is the organization, and CEO Maria McFarland Sanchez Moreno. So check those all out, and we were honored to have had them on the show. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be taking your calls for the first half of the show, then talking to Susan Chott, professor of political science at North Central College, and Jennifer Silverton, co-founder of Exceptional Heroes. That's Live, Local, and Progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 p.m. Central here on WCPT AM 820, heartlandsignal.com, and tune in. And then tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by McHenry County Democrat Mary Mahadi to promote the McHenry County Women's event, Power of the Purse, happening this Saturday. Kathy O'Neill of the Irish American Heritage Center, Lynn of Indivisible Elk Grove Township, and comedian and recovering attorney Paul Faharver will be with Patty Vasquez. Driving It Home, weekdays 5 to 7 Central on WCPT AM 820, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. That's where you can find us, guys. Tomorrow, Saturday, it's Democracy Stupid. That is Edwin Eisendrath's show, and his guests are going to be legal analyst and award-winning podcaster Jill Wine-Banks. You all know Jill. Chicago Tribune investigative reporter Gregory Pratt, David Neer, publisher of The Down Ballot, and Jen Bendari, senior politics reporter for HuffPost. It's Democracy Stupid with Edwin Eisendrath, Saturdays 1 to 4 p.m. Central, WCPT, AM 820, heartlandsignal.com, and tune in. We got a busy week next week. I'll be joined by Choose Views regulars such as Sarah Jones, Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, Rico Mowat, Kurt Mullett, Karen Byrne, plus best-selling author Seth David Radwell and Janai Nelson of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, And Joe Walsh will be with us as well. So we'll have a busy week of folks. Check out our show. We will keep you plugged in. Want to keep you informed. Want to keep you armed up to go and slash down those family members that tell you what you're doing doesn't matter. It's all stupid. You guys over there, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, I think the voters in Virginia and in New Jersey and in New York and in Pennsylvania and in Mississippi, I missed this one. The mayor of Miami, that flipped. Yeah, I missed that one. I was going through some of my feeds the other day, and lo and behold, let me make sure. Yeah, so it matters, guys. If it didn't matter, they wouldn't be working so hard to tell us that it doesn't matter. You know, to what better end? What do they want us to do? Just come and join their stinky party? No good chips. The chips been sitting out all day. They're stale. The salsa's moldy. You know, the beer and wine and the soda is not even room temperature. It's warm. And you know, the bathrooms haven't been clean. We don't want to go to their house party, Matt. It's no fun, and the food's nasty. You know, the chicken's overcooked, the ribs have no flavor, the burgers are burnt, the buns are, you know, have no nice crust to them. We don't want to go to that party. Matt and I, the party that Matt and I are having as progressives is one where the chips get open when people walk in. Boom, nice and fresh out of the bag. The salsa is fresh, stirred and whipped.
It's got guacamole.
It's got right on, Matt. See, it's got guacamole and mixed in. And see, this is how Matt and I would lay it out. We'd have the salsa by itself. Then we'd have the salsa and the guac mixed together, or salsa and the avocado mixed together.
Yeah.
Then we'd have a third dish with just avocado, so that people have choices. Sounds like a progressive party.
Keeping it fresh too.
Keeping it fresh too. And we got backup, meaning our bench. We got some in the refrigerator that's covered so that when we run out, we can bring out the new stuff and be ready to go. We got burgers on the grill we got burgers that have been cooked and good to go, buns that are nice and ready, and we got burgers that we're putting on the grill. My point is, our parties are going to be better because we think more about the end result, which is making sure that voters have what they need. We don't get it right all the time. There's going to be a burger that gets burned, and there's going to be a bun that's not quite right. But our ideas are better. So when I hear people talk about, well, you know, you guys are just those liberals over there, and all you want to do is give free stuff to people. I get some text messages from people that say that the reason that the Dems are going to keep losing is because they want to give free health care to illegals. First of all, it's illegal to do that. So for the people out there that are speaking that garbage, just shut up. Find something else to say other than repeating that same garbage, which is a lie. It's inaccurate. But because we don't do that. Our system is not built that way. It's not allowed. However, this is a stretch. If we did provide coverage for people who weren't here with the proper documentation, I would much rather make sure that someone that is a human being, whether they're here with all their documentation or not, and we made provisions to make sure that they were cared for properly. That to me that's a much more humane thing to do. And so we just keep getting it right in terms of helping people versus harming people. And if that's all we did, and we did it in a way that was beneficial to folks, then that's a win for us. That's a win for the country. So, yeah, I'm going to keep preaching about that. Our ideas are better. Our way of doing is better. It's better for a larger swath of people. And that's why I want to be always speaking to the fact that this is where we make a difference as progressive liberal Democrats. We hold our heads high. We pull our chins up. And we find ways to fight for the least among us. And we do it in a way that is embracing their imperfections as well as their greatness. So rather than us getting caught up in, well, we don't have enough, and how are we going to afford this, and how are we going to... Hell, we just gave this big A tax break to billionaires, and we afforded that on the backs of Americans. And what's so crazy about it, can you believe, Matt, we still have people running around saying that we can't afford stuff. You know, one of the clips that we're about to play is going to speak to that. We can't afford stuff. We can't afford to take care of Americans in their most basic needs. But we can sure as heck afford to spend money on what other countries are bending basically Trump over the barrel to get. And let's just be honest. They're bending him over the barrel to get these things. Meanwhile, we've got a government that's shut. And just think about that. Juxtapose that. Our government's shut down, but he's negotiating deals with other countries rather than taking his fat behind down to the Capitol building and telling Mike Johnson, get this fixed. And running over to John Thune's office and said, get this fixed. No, I mean, if he shows up on a golf course this weekend, what I was about to say would have gotten me thrown off the air, so I didn't say it. But if he shows up at a golf course this weekend, every person that voted for him, you should be shaking. You should be, again, not going to say what popped into my brain. Because if he's going to go play golf rather than go meet with Thune and Johnson and say, get this fixed, and those of you who are soft Democrats that say, oh, well, we got to work through it, or you are MAGA or any GOP that voted for any GOP, that's on you. As I say all the time and unapologetically, I'm going to keep saying it, because you're going to let your boy go off and play golf, but you're not going to press him and your elected official in your district to get this fixed, while members of your family are hurting. But it's okay for your boy to go play golf. Matt, let's hit them with a couple of the clips that we have. These are clips that are part of what we have over at Heartland Signal. I promised you guys at the beginning of the show that we get to a couple of clips that are part of our Heartland Signal posting. So let's go to the first one, the Gatsby clip.
What we are going through is not normal. We cannot normalize this grotesque administration, the lawlessness, the corruption, the incompetence of it. Take a look at the newspaper today. Top headline, administration won't fully fund food assistance as it comes back from its weekend with the Great Gatsby themed party in Mar-a-Lago, and as he's designing his Great Gatsby themed ballroom. Apparently, the president never read the Great Gatsby because things don't turn out so well for the gilded folks in that story.
Yeah, they don't. And the way that they, at this point in time, don't turn out well is by us fighting. It's not going to happen by accident. It's going to happen because we decided to fight. And Representative Dean is spot on. That comes from our great folks at heartlandsignal.com at our digital platform and digital newsroom. We have to fight for it because they don't give a, you know what? They really don't care. The GOP does not care about the American people that they say that they do care about. They lied to every single one of you who believed they're garbage. And I'll say this, and it may be offensive to, it's not going to be offensive. It's not meant to be offensive. It may be a bell ringer for you. You voted for it. We told you. We didn't try to tell you. We told you this was going to happen, and you wouldn't believe us because you could not recognize truth because your own racism, sexism, Christian nationalism, and privilege was more important to you than the protection of the people in your own home, if not your own family or your own community. And so now you're paying the price. Meanwhile, he's building a ballroom. You ain't going to get invited. I talked about the party that Matt and I are going to throw and what we're going to have there and make sure everything is fresh and nice. Our party could be on the back lawn, and it'd be better than trying to go to a party at this, this awful ballroom. And you sure as hell ain't getting invited to Mar-a-Lago. So what were you thinking then? Well, I'm going to vote for him because he's going to take care of him. This is on you. So if you want it back, you got to fight for it. If you want to put the heat to these guys, you got to fight for it. You got to come out like so many Democratic voters did earlier this week and made the changes necessary in so many different elections. And as I said, Matt, I don't know if you heard this or not, I talked strongly about the Mississippi elections. To me, mean as much as the New York election because of the demographic changes that I see happening there. Mississippi, of all places, broke the stranglehold on the state Senate. 3 black folks got elected, and now that's going to change the tide in Mississippi, which is huge. So to me, it's about the fight. Let's Matt. Let's go to break, and we come back. We'll bring the other clip that we have with Representative Dean. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT 820 Heartland Signal News Minute.
I do hope that by speaking out, it gives other people the courage to speak out.
That's Dylan Blaha, captain in the Illinois National Guard and Democratic candidate for Congress in the 13th District of Illinois. He was speaking to WCPT. Blaha has said that he intends to defy an order by the Trump administration to deploy to Chicago.
It's not being a bad soldier to say, hey, I signed up to defend the Constitution. I signed up to defend the American people. I didn't sign up to enact President Trump's political war and political agenda.
Videos Blaha has recently posted online on this topic have gone viral.
I think they got seen by the right and, the top people. And so that's why they suspended my security clearance. Even though what I was doing had nothing to do with security, I was asking soldiers to disobey future unlawful orders.
For WCPT 820 and Heartland Signal, I'm Andy Miles.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey, guys, welcome back. Thanks to Mildred, the nurse, for reminding us about the importance that is why we have to fight now to keep our health care. You're absolutely right, Mildred. Thank you for that. And reminding us that we want to make sure that we're providing care for people who are in emergency situations and just stay strong in that space. So thanks again, Mildred the nurse, for reminding us. But coming back to what, and someone sent a text to me, Matt. This was funny. We were talking about, the party that you and I are going to have with the good guacamole, the good salsa, the nice cold, drinks and properly prepared burgers and steaks. Someone said, question, address and time. And I said, to be announced. We'll keep you posted. We'll let you know, 630, when we're going to have that. That might be our early spring get-together. We played a clip before from Representative Dean talking about the Gatsby effect with Trump and his, trips to Mar-a-Lago and the ballroom and all that. And as I was saying as a lead to this before, we have a government that's shut down and a president that's running around doing stuff that's not relevant to getting the government back open. He should have Johnson and Thune in his office and say, whatever it takes, fix this and get this done. But he's not doing it. He's not doing it because he doesn't care. FYI, MAGA, he does not care. Because why would you then spend any of our resources on helping another country? You don't do that. You just do not do that. If people want to, I've seen things on social media that say Trump's running, from MAGA, of course, Trump's running the government like he ran his businesses. That's an effing disaster. How many of his businesses went bankrupt? You don't. I mean, Matt, how do you bankrupt a cash cow casino? How do you do that? You know how you do it? You do it by tearing down parts of the casino and rebuilding it in a stupid way and gold-esque designs and gaudiness. That's how you. So for the MAGA folk that are out there that want to see Donald run the country like he ran his businesses, that is a fool's game because it's a detour to nowhere. You're not bankrupting my country trying to help others out. Matt, let's play the clip that we have from our second clip from Representative Dean.
Lawsuits declared that the president must fund SNAP. He must use the contingency fund. But why would we even be having to ask this president to make sure that our children, our seniors, our veterans who rely upon SNAP resources, the little that they are, be actually funded? Why in God's name would we have to do that when we have a president who somehow found $40 billion for Argentina? I'm newly an appropriator. We didn't appropriate that. He found $40 billion here. He can't find $9 billion to feed hungry Americans. In my district, 51,571 people rely upon SNAP. As you've heard, it is children, it is seniors, it is veterans. I've met with them. 75,000, roughly 10% of my suburban Philadelphia district, will go hungry any night. 10% of folks in the richest country in the nation. And yet we have to plead with a president and his corrupt administration to release the resources when he's happy to release the resources for his friends.
And for another country. What about America First, MAGA? See, this is why I put this in their lap. Because y'all getting hurt too, and you voted for it. You stupidly voted for it. We as Democrats have to take the gloves off when it comes to this conversation with the entire GOP apparatus, not just the White House. I say that the reason I say this so often is because you know how sometimes we don't say things enough because we get maybe not distracted, but there's so much going on that we may lose sight of some of the core things. This is on the GOP, from the White House to a rural voter or a downtown voter in America that voted for this. His administration can find ways to help out. I don't care what the reasons are with Argentina. You can't tell me that, well, but we needed to. No, we take care of home first, because that's what he said, America first. Let's make America great again. Well, if you want to make America great again, how about feeding the least among us? Making sure that our children are taken care of first. Making sure that we provide, you brought the white South Africans to the United States to protect them from what? They're white. What do they need protecting from in a country like that? But did you protect 50 families in the United States of America who may have needed financial assistance? No. We wasted resources on people from other countries. Why? Because your boy Elon was in your ear and Peter Thiel was in your ear trying to tell you, well, we need to take care of the white South Africans. Bump that. Bump that. Representative Dean is spot on. 51,000 people rely on SNAP in her district. That's insane that those folks are going to have to go through these struggles. Vice President Harris said it. Many others said it, that when we got to the holiday season, it was going to be really tough. Christmas was going to be more expensive. And we're already seeing that. And then you take away tools for people to have basic living sustenance. It's insane. So I'll say it now. I'll say it again until we course correct. Right now, we don't have leaders that represent on the right what would seem to be a great country. We just don't. The leaders on the right are garbage. I'm not sorry to say that. I'm actually very full-throated from the bottom of my shoes saying it, because they are, because they have the power to fix this and they've chosen not to. They haven't decided. They haven't been in a fog. Well, I don't know what I should do. They know what to do, Maddie B, and they won't do it. If you had a child that was sick, let me back off with children. I'm sorry. If you had someone that you cared about in your life, whoever they were, whatever their status, and you knew what to do to help them, they told you, and others told you, this is what you do to help this person. And you chose to not do that. You're the problem, not the person that's sick. And that's what the GOP has done. They know what it takes to fix all of these issues when it comes to, let's go back to the bill. The bill is garbage. Secondly, the shutdown, garbage. And the components within that are hurting people. SNAP is an example. Not navigating and fixing that. All garbage from the garbage old party, GOP. Oh, man, I just came up with that. That was an accident.
That's perfect, actually.
Garbage old party. How about that? Okay, I'm going to have to get some help and hashtag that one. GOP stands for garbage old party. Guardians of pedophiles. No. Okay, so my wife and I were watching a show, a British crime drama, and we've changed the enunciation of a word. It's no longer pedophiles. It's pedophiles. Garbage old party, also known as guardians of pedophiles. Fix it, GOP. You know, you all ran on being better, but your better ain't showing up. It's just garbage. And, you know, more of us need to keep saying and doing what we did this week, and that's getting out to vote and supporting candidates that are going to help us make change and stand in the void to defend this country. Not only its democracy, but its humanity. Mayor Johnson and I will talk about that. We'll probably get into some of the current things that are happening in the city. But I want us to be reminding each other every single day. It's our responsibility and opportunity to speak to the importance of protecting, regaining, and owning our humanity. It's so important for us to do that. Part of the reason that I said, and I'll just let you into a little bit of my world in this. Part of the reason I talked about getting out and doing things a little bit differently this weekend, going a different route, going for a walk in a different park, and changing up what you see and how you take in data and information is because I know that's good for your soul. It's tested with me, okay? I also know it's good for your humanity because I've heard this phrase, and I get it. I don't use it often, but I'll use it as a help to my conversation. It's to kiss some grass. So get out and change what comes into you so that you're stronger at putting back out good into the environment, good into the society. Owning our humanity. That's who we have to strive to be. That's what we want to strive to be. Not these ghouls that are on the right. Not this ghoulish old party. I'm full of G's today. Guardians of pedophiles, garbage old party, and ghouls old party. Whatever it is, look, y'all, this is on the shoulders of the right. This is on the shoulders of the right, not us. Our responsibility is to fight, but this is on them. So we need to keep poking them in the chest with this. I promise you the other side, if we keep doing what we did earlier this week, man, we're going to keep seeing. Momentum's important. So that's why we have to, that's why I keep talking about it so passionately, is because I believe in it. I'm not just, one that says it. I, in my core, believe it. And the connection that we have to keep with each other is hugely important. And how we do that is, kind of challenging ourselves to say, what more can I do? Where can I be connected with other folks? How can I get involved with things that are going to make a difference, that are making a difference right now? That's what pretty much every person that I've interviewed this week or for the last couple of months has said when I've asked them, what is your advice to everyday folks that are listening to our show anywhere in the country? And consistently, people are saying, get involved. If it's local, whatever it is, get involved in something so that you're part of you're part of the solution. You're part of the process of us moving our country forward. Let's take a quick break, guys. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
58% of U.S. employees report having a chronic physical health condition, but most keep it a secret.
The problem is the way that we talk about health is we tend to blame the patient. It's one of the few places where we can blame someone who has a disease and somehow that's okay. You have diabetes because you didn't eat right or you didn't exercise, when it has a lot to do with our genetics and where we live and the environments that we're exposed to.
Brian Castrucci, president and CEO of the de Beaumont Foundation, has advice for employers.
You need to really look at the policies at your workplace, because if you work at a workplace where you can't manage your chronic illness, then work could be killing you. No one benefits when we're not actually managing disease appropriately, and more importantly, it'll cost the employer money in the future when you're dealing with employees who have much more complex, much more advanced disease.
With Checkup on Health.
With the government shutdown order, the FAA order is to cut flights by 10% at 40 of the busiest airports, including Anchorage, Teterboro, New Jersey, Tampa, as well as New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. It's to take pressure off air traffic controllers who are working without pay during the shutdown. Two words you don't want to hear at the airport are canceled and
delay.
In Dallas, Alan Perkins' late-night flight was bumped to the next day. Anyone with plans for the weekend are anxiously waiting to find out their flight status. Reginald Dumas, also in Dallas, is trying to be patient.
I don't think it's going to last that much longer because eventually I'm praying about it. It has to break.
Some airlines are planning to focus on slashing routes to and from small and medium-sized cities. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Meanwhile, a federal judge in Rhode Island ordered the Trump administration to fully fund the SNAP food aid program for November. The White House appealed the ruling. A retired NFL star has been extradited from Dubai to face an attempted murder charge in the U.S. Correspondent Gethin Coolbaugh has more.
Former NFL star Antonio Brown has been arrested on an attempted murder charge stemming from a shooting after a celebrity boxing event in Miami. The 37-year-old Brown was taken into custody by U.S. Marshals in Dubai. Police spokesman Mike Vega said Brown was initially flown to Essex County, New Jersey, where he's being held pending extradition to Miami. An arrest warrant says Brown is accused of grabbing a handgun from a security staffer and firing 2 shots at a man he had gotten into a fistfight with after the amateur boxing event in May. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
More information at apnews.com. This is AP News. AP's Lisa Dwyer reports a very large pay package has been approved for Elon Musk.
The world's richest man was just handed a chance to become history's first trillionaire. Elon Musk won a shareholder vote that would give the Tesla CEO stock worth $1 trillion if he hits certain performance goals, requiring Musk to hit several ambitious financial and operational targets, including increasing the value of the company's stock to nearly 6 times its current level. The vote followed weeks of debate over his management record and whether anyone deserved such unprecedented pay, drawing heated commentary from small investors to giant pension funds and even the Pope. The vote was a resounding victory for Musk, with investors showing that they still have faith in Musk as the car company struggles with plunging sales and profits. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is a WCPT 820 Heartland Signal News Minute.
It feels like Chicago and Illinois are under siege. We are ground zero of everything that's wrong with this administration, and we need to do everything we can to shine a light on the harm that's being done to real people by this administration.
That's Illinois Congressman and candidate for U.S. Senate Raja Krishnamurthy speaking to Joan Esposito here on WCPT. He said that shining a light matters.
Because we need to change public sentiment increasingly against what's happening. 2, we have to continue to support litigation that's occurring in the courts. 3, we have to do oversight, vigorous oversight within Congress as much as we possibly can. And then 4, we need to hold people accountable. That means it's not enough for a Republican to express, quote unquote, concern about what's happening when ICE, raids a job site, it comes to a church or a hospital.
For WCPT 820 and Heartland Signal, I'm Andy Miles.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see skies becoming mostly sunny here for today with a high into the lower 60s. West winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. For tonight, a slight chance for rain early, cloudy, a low near 42. By Saturday, a chance for some rain showers, cloudy skies, high 50 degrees. Then on Sunday, a slight chance for snow, cloudy, high around 36. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 52.
At Bank of America, we asked our teammates, what makes this company a great place to work?
There's very little that you can't accomplish working for Bank of America.
If you prove yourself, you can try over in a totally new way.
You can learn so much here. You're the owner of your career.
See how our teammates are growing in their careers at bankofamerica.com/great place to work. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America, proud to be an equal opportunity employer.
This is WCPT 820. Where facts matter.
This is Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
Guys, welcome back to the show. It is Friday, November 7th, 2025. And we're having fun. I think we are. This has been a great week, a successful week for us. We've been fortunate to have great candidates on that are running for state offices, for national offices, and all the rest. And so I've been honored to talk with some great people through the course of this week. Today, of course, Friday, Karen Byrne, our good friend from TruBlu Politics Podcast, is hanging out with us in studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm waking up.
Are you happy with our successes this week?
I'm drunk with happiness.
Yes, we get to be drunk with happiness.
We
this
need
week.
to take the wins and celebrate the wins, and
not apologize for it.
Don't apologize for it. It's. We have a long way to go, but I think that it was an extremely good sign to see just all of the flips, like you were mentioning too, in places that who knew.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's a real good sign for the Republicans come the midterms.
Not at all.
Despite all their gerrymandering and
all their bustle and
yeah.
Well, we have one of those people who's been a fighter here in the city's formidable. And really kind of just a place where so much greatness has come and then been shared with the rest of the world, and that's the south side of Chicago. Mm-hmm. With us this morning is State Senator Robert Peters. Good morning, Senator, and welcome to Choose Yours on WCPT.
Yes, thank you for having me. Good morning.
It's good to talk to you again. We met back in the summer when Kristen Kroll from Fair Share America had her bus tour and had her Saturday morning event at the art location there in Hyde Park. So it's great to have you back on the show, or have you on the show for the first time, and to talk a little bit about this guy who went from being an organizer, community organizer, sound like somebody else I know, to an elected official here in the state of Illinois. We've been such a great growing ground for politicians and leaders like yourself. Talk to us a little bit about, your background, Senator Peters, and your ascent to where you are currently in the state of Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would have never thought that I would be here in my life. I was born, hard of hearing, developed a massive speech impediment, struggled with a variety of different learning disabilities, and was adopted. And my biological mom, she was very working class and struggled with drug addiction. And so that led me to being adopted. And I was adopted by a civil rights lawyer for a father and a social worker for a mom. And my mom, herself, my adopted mom, was also struggled with a lot of mental health issues, and she was an alcoholic. She would end up passing away, basically drinking herself to death. But I grew up in Hyde Park, in this community, in this village, and I had neighbors who would have a door open during a time of need. And I had this community that helped raise me, this village that helped raise me, and helped my dad and helped my mom, and they didn't have to necessarily go through it alone. But for the last 30 to 40 years, what we've seen is more and more people feeling isolated, more and more people feeling alone, more and more people who are going through a struggle, having to try to do things on their own. And that kind of drove me, for a variety of reasons, that drove me into organizing. It's really sort of the root cause of my driver. And I became an organizer because it's not enough for us to sort of fight back against Donald Trump or Trumpism, but it's important that the Democratic Party has a vision for what kind of country we can and should be. That nobody should have to struggle in the richest, most powerful country in the history of the planet. There is a nuke bomb on every corner. The number one movie on Netflix right now is House of Dynamite. We have the unique ability to destroy the whole planet. I think instead of putting our energy into that, we should put our energy to make sure that nobody's worrying about housing. Nobody's worrying about their health care. Nobody's worrying about food on their table. Just before we got on, there was a report that Elon Musk is, well on his way to becoming a trillionaire, as we're also talking about millions of people losing their SNAP benefits. And we're talking about millions of people worried about their health care costs. And we're talking about millions of people struggling to stay in their homes. That's a terrible disparity that shouldn't exist in this country. And so, the reason why I became an organizer is to fight back against that. The reason why I became a state senator is because I wanted to take the organizing that I learned out in the streets and bring that organizing into the Capitol. And the reason why I'm running for Congress is because I believe I want to take this to the next level in the federal government. Because what I know is that when the federal government is having a cold, the state of Illinois gets a flu. And we need to have a strong federal government in order for us to have a stronger state.
You have been just that voice in terms of what you just said about taking it to the next level. You have consistently learned from what you're doing in the moment and then used that as a stepping stone to get to the next level of leadership. And I think that's one of the reasons why so many people have gotten on board with what you're doing now and are supporting your effort. You've had, your work on legislation around health care, your work on legislation around fairness in terms of tax relief. You've really been that guy. You've been that person. And a lot of people don't know that you're the majority caucus whip. Talk a little bit about that. That's a role and I've always hated the word whip because of obviously some of the historical perspectives when it comes to enslavement. But in the state Senate, you've been the majority caucus leader. Talk about that and how that has helped you when it comes to working the system. I don't want to say working both sides of the aisle, but working the system. Because if you were to win and get to Washington and be the next congressional person for that district, you're going to spend a lot of time doing that. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you would have told me when I got into the Senate that I would be moving into leadership within 5 years, I would have said that's crazy. But, there's a few things. I'm a prolific legislator. I've passed over 120 pieces of legislation, and that's because I have an amazing relationships with community organizations that they do the work outside the Capitol, and my job is, as I said, to organize inside the Capitol. The other one is I firmly believe everything is built on the foundation of building relationships. And so I will take time to get to know people, to get to know why they care about the things that they care about, why they do the things that they do, and give people some grace to learn about them. And so there might be members within the caucus that we have very serious ideological differences, but at least I know why they have the ideological differences, and I can negotiate and talk to them and have a relationship with them. And because of that, I would say I'm one of the most progressive folks in the state capitol. Well, at the same time, at least every session I have one or two bills that are tough bills that also have bipartisan support. And that all comes from the fact that I come from a world of community organizing, the world of building relationships, and staying true to your values, but having deep relationships with people means that sometimes, maybe 9 out of 10 times they won't be supporting the thing that you work on, but that one time they're willing to do it because they have that relationship with you, because they have that trust with you, and because you have that level of honesty with each other. And when I moved into government, I was doing this to move out of a theoretical space. I organized, and as a political director, I talked a lot about movement governing, and it was very theoretical. And I said, if I move into the state Senate, I've got to actually practice what I've been preaching, and I've got to show that this model of governing works. And that's been always the challenge, and to take risks and say, okay, I'm going to do tough things, and I'm going to do whatever I can to get them done, and I'm going to do this to be strategic. And there's going to be times when sometimes you need people who are going to be loud outside and on the street, and sometimes you just need to have a sidebar conversation that moves somebody to move in the direction that you want. And you have to take different tactics. You can't just rely on the exact same tactic to get something done. And then the other one is, I grew up, the way I got into politics is not the norm for someone who, like me. I was a Byrne delegate twice, right? But I was also got my start with Toni Preckwinkle, and Toni is about as much of a perfect model in terms of a progressive leader here. She is someone who understands and has deep loyalty to the Democratic Party, knows why people may do what they do, and is able to work and negotiate with that and cut the deal that you have to do to be able to get the work done. And at the same time, she is very much true to her values, and as we know, can be very outspoken about her values and speaks that truth to power that I try to do as a state senator. And so, and then, when I think about it, it's like I try to tell people, maybe I'm not the best model to take. I remember I came out of college. It was a great recession. I couldn't get a job, so I joined Tony's campaign. I really believed in it. She was polling 4th or 5th in polling, but she built this amazing campaign, and I got to be deeply involved with it and to build a relationship with it. But then my dad passed away when I was 26. I'm 40. He passed away, and I quit politics. I went into working at a tech company, and I did sales, and that wasn't easy. It was pretty difficult. Everybody was alienated, massive college debt. I did that for 2.5 years, and then a few things happened. George Zimmerman got off for the murder of Trayvon Martin, and my mom basically drank herself to death. And so I said, I'm going to go back into this work. And I went into community organizing. I said, I'm going to do it from a place of my values. And so I come from your traditional established Democratic space into movement work. And I say, how can we blend these things together to be able to get things done? How can we reshape the Democratic Party to work for people? And I've taken that organizing and I've taken my loyalty to the party, and it's allowed me to be able to move into this role.
That's so fantastic. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520, 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking to Illinois State Senator and Majority Caucus Leader Robert Peters, who's also running for U.S. Congress. And I want to pivot a little bit to that and talk about what, when I think about someone running for a new office, particularly going from a state level on a legislative basis to a federal level, a congressional basis, what is it that when you get there, and I always like to ask this question because I always think, okay, once you're there, what's going to be, the things that you want to lead on, the things that you want to be? You're going to be a freshman in Congress. So, you've been a freshman before. So how are you going to break through, I guess is my question. How are you going to make your message known when you first get there, making the assumption that you were to win this seat?
Yeah, well, so, I remember when I joined the state Senate, I was just a freshman, and I was able to pass 13 bills in my first year, one of them being banning private immigrant detention centers in Illinois because the GEO Group, a private prison company, was trying to bring a 1,000-bed detention center to central Illinois. And I took on these tough bills, and within 3 years, I would, due to a moment of crisis, right? There was COVID, Black Lives Matter protests all over the country, all over the state, but I was able to introduce and pass with my colleagues the end of cash bail, which is something that I also worked on and helped start with a whole group of people, the Coalition to End Cash Bail. And so that to me was like, if you would have told me in 3 years on the in Senate that I would go from helping start a coalition to end cash bail to introducing it and then getting it passed and then defending it and making sure that Illinois is the first and right now the only state in the country to end cash bail, I would have been like, that was never really the plan. The plan was, how do we do this in 10 years instead of how are we going to do this in 3 to 5, 6 years. And so when I think about going into Congress, the first thing I think about is I've got to build relationships with people. I've got to build trust with people. I've got to figure out which relationships really matter in terms of the power dynamics that exist in Congress. And so to me, the first thing I think about is in organizing, we say it's called power before program. And so you have a vision for the things that you want to get done, whether that's a Medicare for all or a PRO Act. You know what I mean? Like you can have all these policies, but you can't get policies done if you don't have the power to be able to get to do that. And so the way to do that is building relationships. And so I think my initial thing is building solid relationships with members of Congress. They get to know who I am, why I do what I do. I get to know who they are, why they do what they do, and then go from there. And then the second part is crisis creates opportunity. Usually when we hear that, it's from people who want to, try to defund our schools or do something really bad. But I think there's also a way to say crisis creates opportunity to do really a lot of good. Mm-hmm. And so we are in the midst of what feels like a perma crisis because of this administration. And the fact of the matter is, every week it's a new crisis, and some could say every day is a new crisis. And so you have to be in response to those crises. So knowing that there is going to be a president who is obsessed with crisis, and he's using it to do very bad things to people, we need to have as a party a vision for what we want to provide for people in the world and how to turn that crisis into an opportunity so that working people have the comfort, safety, and dignity they deserve.
You mentioned your thoughts and your activity around detention centers and all. And our good friend Karen Byrne is in studio with us, and just wanted to throw a quick question to you about Broadview.
Yes, hi. So I am within walking distance of the Broadview detention facility. And we have, of course, been made aware of horrible conditions in that facility. Two rooms, it was described as 2 rooms that were 30 by 30 with capacity of 80, and that's like seating capacity, and detainees having to sleep on concrete floors and not getting proper meals, not getting water, open bathrooms. So have you heard anything? Have you been involved at all in potentially getting into those facilities to inspect them, or any of the legal? I know that there were some there was legal action taken against the operation there. Are you aware of anything?
I know of some legal action. I know there's been a push to try to get in there. The most, in terms of conversation I've had about Broadview in terms of the facility itself, not in terms of like what ICE is doing and CBP is doing and DHS is doing, but the facility itself is trying to see, I had passed this law that prevented private immigrant detention centers. What, if anything, we could do when it comes to that law, and is it or is it not going to be too far that it doesn't hold up? And so I think those are very preliminary conversations about that and the piece of legislation. I try to tell people the difficulty here is, I think for the longest time we were told the federal government can't be that powerful for us. And I think this is actually a reminder of what happens. The federal government is actually extremely powerful, and it's being used in a terrible way. But nobody, and I don't think any moderate should ever tell us that the federal government can't do something for people, because it is clear that the federal government has immense power over states and local government, and it would be great if the federal government, instead of detaining people and throwing them into cramped spaces and breaking up families and doing propaganda videos, that they were giving people health care, or they were giving people food, or they were giving people housing. And it is an extremely frustrating and angering space. And I am actually angry in multiple ways because let me just put it this way. I'm angry in the immediate moment of what this administration is doing, and I'm angry for all the people who told me that the federal government can't deliver for people, that the federal government can't do enough. It's not capable of doing it. That's not the role of the federal government. Well, it turns out the federal government can do a lot. It should just do a lot for working people who are trying to make their life and exist and live with some semblance of dignity. So it really ticks me off, not only in the short term of what we're dealing with in the crisis now, but the fact that I'm 40 years old, and I was told by people in both parties about how limited the federal government can be. It clearly works for some people. It's just not working for me and a bunch of people I represent.
But I think that the important thing to remember in that is that there have been executive orders. And so like President Obama showed how government can do for the people, but they were through executive orders. And unfortunately, if you don't codify it into legislation, the next person, Donald Trump, can take everything away. So I think that, we do have to remember that piece of it and, talk to people about that, because I think that there are a lot of people that share that frustration and wondering and witnessing what we're seeing, but it's a complete misunderstanding or misreading of the role of government, how government works. It would be great if we have a two-party system, or if we had a three-party system. But unfortunately, at the executive level, we only, we have the Electoral College that essentially picks the president, and so. Given that we have two major parties and we have one of them that is completely dysfunctional, and not only that, but have been actively for decades been working to tear down the federal government.
Yeah. Robert, so
here's what I'll just add to this is why Congress matters. Strengthening the legislative branch. It's an important, I think we forget, especially this year, the legislative branch is, supposed to be the most powerful branch of government, technically, when you think about it. It's been weakened severely by the executive branch, really, and we've created a lot of power in the executive branch, and now have an administration that wants to take that to the next level. But, I also think in terms of an executive branch, this isn't actually new. When you think about how FDR treated a crisis that had millions of people in poverty and suffering, he used the executive branch in an extremely powerful manner to deliver for folks. And when you think about Abraham Lincoln and suspending habeas corpus, was literally because he knew the executive branch needed to react in that crisis that was the Civil War. And there are some people who, there's all sorts of debates on things like that. But this isn't actually necessarily new. What it is recent. And we have in this administration that level of overreach, but we don't have a Congress that is also using the federal government and its power within the federal government as powerfully as it should. And we need, what I'm endorsed by the Congressional Progressive Caucus, and what I really appreciate is they have such a strong vision about what it means to have a legislative branch that actually wants to do things for people and create a tension, and not bad, tension. Tension's good. A tension with the executive branch on how we can deliver for people. And so to me, it's the fact that the federal government isn't just the executive branch. It is, in fact, the legislative branch. And we need a stronger legislative branch that has a vision for how we're going to deliver for people, how we're going to hold Donald Trump accountable. And then when we get the executive branch, we need to have whoever is going to move in to be the next president can't go and live in a la-la land of going back to yesteryear that never existed. Yeah. They need to think about that moment of how they're going to, whether it's LBJ's Great Society or it's FDR and the New Deal or it's Lincoln during the Civil War. They have to have a vision about how they're going to deliver for people in response to what Trump did and then take us to that next level, because I'll end my little rant here and going off here, but I like to remind people we are the richest, most powerful country in the history of the planet. The Roman Empire is jealous of a country that could literally destroy the entire world. Why is it that there are people in my district who are constantly facing eviction? They can't get a grocery store. They're barely able to drink their water, and their kids are in schools that are crumbling. That shouldn't be happening. So I say Elon Musk, instead of being a trillionaire, should be taxed like crazy, take his money, and give it to the working people of this country.
And that sentiment is not just in your lap or the words coming out of your mouth, Senator Peters. It's for so many folks throughout the country, and there's so much more that we didn't get a chance to talk about, which we will make sure to have you back and cover some other items. But I'm excited for your campaign. I'm excited about your passion and your energy. As we wrap up, let folks know how they can find you, and if they want to get involved in your work, how they can do that.
Yes. Visit robertpetersforcongress.com. If you're able to volunteer, if you're able to give even a little bit of amount of money to our campaign, we have over 22,000 individual contributions, under $20 an average online contribution. This is a grassroots campaign. It's driven by grassroots energy. If you want to be in a campaign that's rooted in a vision for what this country can be in the 21st century, this is that campaign. So thank you.
Thanks so much for being with us, Senator Robert Peters of Illinois, running for U.S. Congress. Thanks for being with us, sir. We'll talk with you soon.
Of course.
All right. Bye-bye. Guys, we got to take a quick break. We got to keep the train moving. Thanks for being with us. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning attorney who drafts living trusts and wills for my clients. You have probably heard my ads here on WCPT for the last few years. Your fellow listeners, when we have completed their plans, say, I wish I had done this sooner. It wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be. We can complete your estate plan within 30 days or less. There are certainly decisions that need to be made, but my 30-plus years of experience will help guide you through this process. There may never be a perfect time to start, but whenever I'm asked when is the best time, my answer is always the same. Now is the best time, while it is on your mind. Being able to tell your family that you have an estate plan in place, that all the details have been taken care of, will be a great relief to both yourself and those you care for the most. Our initial consultation is without charge, and there is no obligation. My phone number is 847-996-0496, and my website is moretlawoffice.com, spelled M-O-R-E-E. I look forward to speaking with you.
This is a WCPT 820 Heartland Signal News Minute.
We are co-equal branches of government, and what we have is a president that thinks he's above the law.
That's Illinois Congresswoman Delia Ramirez speaking recently to WCPT's Patty Vasquez about congressional oversight of President Donald Trump.
He thinks that the executive branch is the only power that should be followed unless it conveniently benefits him. So when it conveniently benefits him, the government shutdown is not his fault. When it conveniently benefits him, the courts are taken by radical left. I mean, this is a man that gaslights night and day, and he truly believes wholeheartedly, surrounded by the Stephen Millers and the Kristi Noems and the Pete Hexets, that they're going to get away with it. It's mind-boggling. And members of Congress, we have to be able to look at ourselves in the mirror and be clear that we're doing everything in our power.
For WCPT 820 and Heartland Signal, I'm Andy Miles.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see skies becoming mostly sunny here for today with a high into the lower 60s. West winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. For tonight, a slight chance for rain early, cloudy, a low near 42. By Saturday, a chance for some rain showers, cloudy skies, high 50 degrees. Then on Sunday, a slight chance for snow, cloudy, high around 36. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 54.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Because facts matter.
When my father lost his job, we didn't have health insurance. And my mother, with the rare heart disease that she suffered through, died because we could not afford medication. My father had to make the decision between medicine and mortgage, my college tuition and food. That's the predicament that we have placed families in for decades. And now you're asking me to go before city council and defend the very people that have made an enormous amount of revenue over the course of decades off the backs of working and poor people. If you've never been in a position to have to choose whether or not you're going to have lunch for your children or rent, then you may not ever fully understand the impetus behind this budget. What are we debating here? We're talking about hundreds of thousands of families that will not have access to food. We're either going to challenge those with means who have made hundreds of billions of dollars, unprecedented revenue, at a time in which families are struggling to pay for groceries, to afford rent, mortgage. I'm going to defend and stand up for working people through it all, because that's what I was elected and born to do.
I love the last part, born to do. Welcome to the show, Mayor Brandon Johnson of the greatest freaking city on the world, Chicago, Illinois. Good morning, Mayor Johnson. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, Richard Chu. Thanks for having me back, brother.
Absolutely, sir. Listen, I have, there's so many things I want to talk to you about. I know we have a short amount of time, so I'm going to be as quick as I can be. But that part there, born to do, is what really got me about that clip. we all have to recognize that we are here to do something, and hopefully it's something good. And you're unapologetically forthright about, I'm here to get things done for the city of Chicago right now. And the criticisms that come your way, they're there. Some are valid, some are not. But you've maintained something that I think a lot of people have got to pay attention to. You've maintained the focus on this, and that's to improving the lives of the city, the citizens of the city of Chicago. And what that then means is that the region gets better, the state gets better, and frankly, the country gets better. And that's one of the things that I'm proud of, what you have, through all this hell that you're catching, and some of it is warranted, that you still stayed focused on the fact that this is what I'm here to get done.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Richard, look, as a public servant, or public servants in general, it's incumbent upon all of us to, remain focused and vigilant in this season, to center our work around people and humanity. And right now, what the Trump administration is doing and what he has done over the course of these first 11 months of the year have just been absolutely horrific. And working people are struggling every single day. I know that struggle of someone who grew up in a household with 9 siblings and 1 bathroom and a father who worked as hard as he possibly could. And what I find, troubling or disturbing about this moment is that the time in which my father was a public employee, it was the same time in which Ronald Reagan declared war on American cities. I was just a child, so I have a very distant memory of that moment, but I do remember seeing the frustration of my father. I know the tension that exists in homes when, no matter how hard you work, you just can't seem to make the ends meet. And I'm working hard every single day to make sure that families do not have to continue to go through that economic despair that my family experienced growing up.
Right now, or I shouldn't say right now, but specifically this week, Mayor Johnson, we've had what I think is a result of people leaning in and fighting for what they believe in. Everyday voters all across the country, I believe, and I've been saying this since Wednesday morning, sent a message to not only Donald Trump, but to the GOP in its entirety, because I put the responsibility of what's happening in the country, not just at Donald Trump's footsteps or doorstep, but at the entire GOP, because they have the tools to change this. But members of our society, with these elections this week, these big election wins, said, no, we need to regain our momentum. We need to regain our footing, and send a message to the country that we're not gone yet as progressive liberal Democrats. Give us your assessment of this week in terms of the elections that were won from New York City to the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, well, thank you for just, the full breadth of what happened on Tuesday, right? You saw every single wing, if you will, of our party on full display, but most of all, you heard people speak to the core issues that, this country has to rally around. We're working to build the safest, most affordable big city in America. People literally ran on the areas that we are effectively governing on. When you think about the average price of a home in New York, over $1 million. The average price of a home in Los Angeles, over $900,000. I know that Mayor Karen Bass is tackling that challenge in Los Angeles, and I know Mayor-elect Mamdani is solely focused on ensuring that everyday people can afford to live in their communities, or boroughs, as they describe in New York. But you also saw the first black woman, or the first woman elected to be mayor of the city of Detroit. So right here in the Midwest, your people are continuing to set new standards, quite frankly, for how we lead and represent the interests of working people. So I'm also encouraged by the fact that, Mayor-elect Mamdani has made a pronouncement that he's going to create an office of community safety. That's what we have here in Chicago. That's what I developed. And you're seeing an incredible decline in violence in our city and cities across America. So it's very clear that, if you speak to the core issues and we lead with our values and we stand up for the interests of working people, and of course, finally, challenging the ultra rich and those with means to pay their fair share in taxes, it's not just a winning message. It's It's literally the governance that we need to protect everyday people across this country.
Absolutely, and to the shout outs to Mayor-elect Mondami, you and Mayor Garcetti in Los Angeles, Mayor Stubbs in Stockton, and Mayor I got it in front of me, Quentin Lucas in Kansas City, all kind of had a little bit of a lean in terms of advice to the newly elected mayor in New York, and it's great to see. And also, we can't forget that your colleague, and I mean this in the right way, Mayor Wu in Boston is reelected, and so I know that puts a smile on your face because you guys went to Washington early. You were right out of the gate. You all went to Washington and said, "Not on our watch." And I think that kind of language, and as I started, Mayor Johnson, with saying, through all the hell that you're catching right now, some warranted and some not, you have remained focused on getting things done. Mayor Wu, same reason. And these other mayors, as it relates to helping Mayor-elect Mondami come out of the gate, firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, look, we claim Mayor Wu. She was born just outside the city of Chicago. Yep. So, she is certainly reflecting the type of bold leadership that we need in this moment. Look, when I think about the number of families who are, going to lose their food, their SNAP benefits, we're talking about 2 million for the entire state of Illinois, 800,000 roughly in the entire county of Cook, and 500,000 just in the city of Chicago, or nearly. This is life and death, as it relates to what this president is engineering in this moment. And that's why, in my budget that I put forward, my budget protects all of Chicago, right? It ensures that we're not balancing the budget off the backs of working people. My budget does not raise property taxes. It does not collect a grocery tax. It does not increase the garbage fee collection. And these are areas, of course, that, other alders have described as means to balance the budget. I wholeheartedly and firmly disagree with that notion. And so what you're seeing across America is that you're seeing that people recognize that if we're truly going to protect our democracy and stand up for the basic fundamental rights for our people, we have to lean in and lead with a clear conviction. Richard, these big tech companies and the ultra-rich have made an enormous amount of cash under this administration. In his nasty bill, we saw the largest upward transfer of wealth leaving the pockets and the households of working people and middle-class folks, transferred into the hands of the ultra-rich. $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid. I mean, these are severe. And as I said, unless you've grown up in a house where the ends didn't always meet, perhaps you may not fully understand the impetus behind, my motivation. However, I do believe that the vast majority of Chicagoans get it, that they understand that we have a choice to make. We can balance our budget off the backs of working people, or we can challenge those with means to put more skin in the game and pay their fair share in taxes. And that's the message that was resonating across the country. And that's what we've been leading on, whether it's been investing in youth employment, mental health. My budget releases the largest investment for our public schools in the history of Chicago. Over $500 million will go into our public schools. That's going to affect all of our neighborhoods. That's the type of work that we're committed to doing. Same thing, we're investing more in parks. We're investing more in libraries. We fought hard to finally get a bill done in Springfield to ensure that we're protecting workers and improving our public transportation system. We are doing the work here in Chicago, and we're leading with our values because, quite frankly, I believe that's what the people of Chicago deserve. Whether, I get a high five every day or not, my job is to show up for the people of Chicago, and that's what I'm going to continue to do.
Mayor Johnson, thank you for that. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson. Mayor Johnson, there in the mayor of Atlanta, who another shout out we should give for his great work and his reelection, just instituted a moratorium, essentially, on evictions and such, given what's happening with the federal government's awful work right now. Is that something that's realistic to implement here in the city of Chicago?
Well, first of all, I commend Andre Dickens, another good shining example of leadership that speaks to the needs of working people. I do believe that this is something that we should look into. I've received calls from alders expressing a desire to find a pathway to provide this type of relief, given, again, as I said earlier, the resources that are being snatched away from working people, whether it's SNAP benefits, Medicaid. These are the real severe challenges that people are enduring right now. The fact that we have public employees, federal employees who have been laid off, or they're working without pay. I do believe that this is a matter of life and death, and so I'm receiving those calls from alders, and again, there's something that I believe as an entire state we should seriously consider.
Absolutely. So you know this, and maybe not a lot of people are aware of it, but our budget rating, or I should say our rating, credit rating, just was adjusted by S&P, and I mean, it depends on how much faith one puts into that. But how are you going to navigate what is perceived now as a negative outlook when it comes to our S&P rating?
Well, I'm going to center this budget around working people. I mean, that's my focus, right? And at a time in which people are hungry and without homes and without jobs, without fully funded schools, I have to prioritize those needs. It's bottom line. Now, this budget, is 60% structurally sound. We don't overly rely upon, what people will refer to as a one-time fix. Mm-hmm. However, our children are not looking at the S&P, right? you know what I'm saying? Our workers are not, looking at Dow Jones, right? They're looking at, their pay stubs.
Yeah.
Right. They're looking at their bank accounts. And what this budget does, it centers the needs of working people. My budget doesn't lay people off. There are no furloughs. There are no cuts to services. And we also, provide advance payment, to our pension liability.
Right.
So we were literally able to do all of what's needed in this moment, not just pay our pension, but send an additional payment, while at the same time ensuring that our children don't have to worry about whether or not their teacher will be laid off in January.
Yeah, that's an important part of this, is that not everybody's looking at these sort of database items. Maybe they should be, maybe they shouldn't be, who knows. But at the end of the day, what they're looking at is the paycheck. They're looking at how the benefits are flowing through, and how is the city, kind of creating a literally a shelter from these big, ugly, stupid, frankly, bits of legislation and executive orders from the federal government. And so I think that is, you're right, more people are looking toward that than they are toward if our rating has been adjusted, because that can come back, and it will come back once the implementation of this budget is in place and we start to see those dollars flowing in. Let me ask you this, and
that's an important note. I just want to lean in there a little bit, because when you look at the overall outlook of our economy, we're clearly moving in the right direction. Just this past summer, we had the busiest summer downtown in the history of Chicago. 3.5 million people came to hang out in the city of Chicago. $900 million of revenue, $20.6 billion of overall impact in terms of tourism. Our airport set and broke records, particularly O'Hare, right? It's so the most diverse economy in the world. And what you're seeing an infusion of excitement in our city. And that's not something that we take for granted. While at the same time, we saw the safest summer in 60 years.
Yep.
Right. And so, look, this is not to say that all is perfect, but these are real hardcore numbers that our economy is improving. Our city is becoming safer, though there's more work to be done. And at a time in which, people are, literally living in a great deal of trepidation and fear and anxiety, that is what I've been called to do in this moment as a public servant, is to alleviate that type of anxiety and calm for the people of Chicago. And I believe the rest of it will take care of itself if we center our work around the needs and the interests of working people. I believe that, it puts us in a much stronger economic position when people are confident that their government is going to show up for them.
There's a guy in New York, and I played this clip yesterday, and I'll have to send it to you guys because I think it's really, it speaks well to the whole conversation around increasing taxes on and making those who have the means to pay a little bit more of the share. And it's a group called Patriotic Millionaires. It's a guy in New York who's walking around the city of New York, and he's talking about how great it is to be in the city of New York. And he doesn't mind if he's going to have to pay a little bit more in taxes because he knows that that's sort of his social and public responsibility. He's been able to have all these great things happen in his life. And he talked about the museums and just New York. He talked about the greatness of being, and he's not moving, contrary to popular belief. He's staying there because he knows that that's his city. And I feel that that message is starting to resonate in other big cities, Chicago being on the top of the list, where people are saying, to have these wonderful parks and museums and a lakefront and a city that you can navigate well, it does require investment. And for those who had a disproportionate break, it's about time that they step up a little bit.
Yeah, look, you're absolutely right. Every time this question has been posed and surveyed, Chicagoans overwhelmingly support, a more equitable tax structure. In fact, 70% of Illinoisans believe that we have to invest more in our public education system. There was a recent poll done by Hit Strategies, I believe, and 90% of Chicagoans, black and brown in particular, overwhelmingly believe that these corporations that just received the largest tax cut and benefit from this president have to pay their fair share in taxes. And when you look across, racial lines, black, brown, white, Asian, young, older voters, they all agree that, the 3% of large corporations that would be asked to contribute a little bit more for community safety, Chicagoans overwhelmingly across the board support this effort. And it's really incumbent upon us as public servants to respond to what the voters and the residents want, because what that does is it engenders more confidence in our work. Yeah. And whenever you have a more active society, you have a stronger society. Look, building safe and affordable communities require us to invest in people. Everyone knows that. Corporations, as well as, bus drivers, letter carriers, they all want safe and affordable communities. That's something that we can do collectively, and that's what I'm doing. I'm bringing all of Chicago together to ensure that we're investing in our education system, we're investing in youth employment, we're investing in our mental health. One of the things that our community safety fund is going to do is going to provide more support for survivors and victims of domestic violence. It has gotten worse, quite frankly, and many families do not have an outlet or a place to find refuge, and they're in many instances, because they have nowhere to go, they're sort of trapped, if you will, in these abusive circumstances and relationships. That's something that we can solve. That's something that we can address, and a surcharge for our largest corporations to ensure that families can flee abusive relationships. I don't think that's something that we should negotiate, quite frankly. I think it's something that we should demand, and that's what we're doing in this moment, because these are issues that affect all of us, yep. Richard, as you know, and that's why I'm so determined in this moment to have a budget that protects Chicago.
And that's, again, the time always runs short, Mayor Johnson. I want to give a couple of quick shout outs and get one or two last questions in. It's great to see that the judge did provide the injunction in terms of some of the tactics of the immigration agents, and I know that you've been leaning hard into this. So box checked. We still got a long way to go in that space, but that's a big deal, isn't it?
It really is. In fact, every single lawsuit that we have put forward against the Trump administration, we have prevailed, and every single charge that has been brought against us, we've defeated. And so when I talk about using every single tool, including the courts and litigation, that's exactly what I mean. So this is a great day for us, and we also, again, ensured that the $50 million that was dedicated for emergency management, we were able to ensure that those dollars were not withheld from city government. So yes, we're moving in the right direction, and I'm grateful that we have the type of fortitude in this moment to use every single tool to protect all of Chicago.
Absolutely. Mayor Johnson, with the wins that we had this week for Democrats, but for the country, frankly, how, in your mind, what's your message to multiply that, to take that momentum? You're a sports fan. When the momentum is in your favor, you keep running that play. You know how it is. So what's the message to other folks that are running, how we take this to the next level?
Yeah, let's center our work around our core values. Standing up for working people, that is I think the quintessential example of what it means to defend our democracy, right? I mean, it's everyday working people that make this city and this government as a whole, this nation run. And so let's continue to organize, right? Once you get people elected, we have to continue the work to govern, right? And so that's community town halls, that's canvassing, that's, podcasts, coming on the Richard Chew Show, right? Telling our stories, right? Because, the people who oppose us won't go away because we won. I can guarantee you that. In fact, they can be actually quite relentless. So continue to organize, continue to build the operation that's needed to actually govern on the values that we effectively won on.
So if you remember when you were on a few weeks ago, we had a little surprise where we had the folks from Take Six, specifically Christian Dentley. I don't know if you got it, but he put together a video for his favorite mayor, Brandon Johnson. And I got that sent over to your people. I hope they were able to share it with you. If they haven't, then I'll make sure you get a chance.
They did, and it was just it brought so much joy, to me. And I'll just say this: I'm so encouraged by how people are encouraging one another in this moment, and that's what's needed. And so that feedback was healthy for me, but I actually believe that that's feedback for the entire city of Chicago. I just want your listeners to know that people from all over the country, quite frankly, all over the world, they see the resistance and the resilience in our city, and they're finding a great deal of strength. Chicago is leading the way in this moment. In fact, many of our executive orders and our actions, other cities have embraced them. And that's a true testament of leadership. And that doesn't happen just simply because of one public servant. It happens because of the strong collective response that the city of Chicago has been displaying.
Absolutely. Mayor Brandon Johnson, as always, it's an honor to have you on the show. Thank you for being with us. I know you're going to stay in the fight, and we're going to keep propping you up and pushing you and coddling, whatever the word is, to get you to keep doing the things that you said that you were going to do. But thanks for being with us this morning, Mayor Johnson.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to coming back and getting up early with you.
Absolutely. All right. Be safe the rest of the day and have a great weekend, okay?
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Guys, there you go. Our leaders are stepping up, and throughout the country, we had this happen with our elections that took place. Karen, I know you wanted to chime in on that part about the elections before we wrap up today.
What part of the elections? I just think that it is a referendum on the Trump administration. I think that these Republicans have taken this way too far, and I think Greg Abbott, if he thinks that he picked up 5 seats.
California got something to say about that.
Well, California has something to say about it. And not only that, but the Latino community in Texas, these are ranchers.
Yeah.
These are voters that have voted Republican.
And they saw the light. They're seeing the light, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I don't think that the 5 seats that they think they picked up are necessarily a guarantee.
Right. And the other part of this, in terms of, to your point about what others are doing, Governor Moore, Wes Moore in Maryland, stepping up in that space.
Yeah.
And I saw word that the newly elected governor of Virginia is about to put the gauntlet down as well in terms of redistricting. If that's the way they're going to have to play to keep things protected, that's what we got to do. Well, so
they started it.
So we're going to finish it. Was it don't start none, won't be none? So
there you go.
Guys, thanks for being with us. Thanks to Mayor Brandon Johnson. Thanks to Senator Robert Peters. Thanks to my great friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast. Check her out, y'all. Take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you next week.
comes to the vitamins and supplements you take, quality counts. If you have questions or concerns about the vitamins you plan on taking, we're happy to help. Mark Drugs, better health and care for you and your pets. The most common signs you need a probiotic are if you have taken an antibiotic and need to balance out the gut bacteria, you find yourself getting constantly sick, or you feel bloated, unwell, or have skin issues. We carry high-quality probiotics at our pharmacy, such as Florastor, Floragen, and what I refer to as the silver bullet, Orthobiotic, which combines multiple strains of beneficial bacteria and friendly yeast to stimulate optimal gut flora. Get to know your pharmacist, caring for you